Hola y bienvenidos a este video donde vamos a hablar sobre las personas famosas y las redes sociales. Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be talking about famous people or celebrities and social media or social networks. We're also going to look at a really important piece of Spanish grammar called comparatives, and that's where you can build phrases where you're comparing two things, saying something is more something than or less something than, or that you've got more of this than that. And we're going to look at that in the context of famous people and social media, but once you've learned that kind of structure, you can then apply it to just about anything else in Spanish. So it's going to be a really useful bit of grammar that will help you to improve your Spanish. Las metas de esta clase son aprender cómo hablar de los me gusta y los seguidores, identificar algunas personas famosas que hablan español, entender cómo usar los comparativos en español y poder comparar algunas personas famosas hispanohablantes o que hablan español. Para empezar, quiero que leas estas frases y que pienses qué significan en inglés. Es súper famoso en internet, súper famosa o súper famose en internet. Tiene una canción nueva. Es muy popular en TikTok. Tiene millones de seguidores. Okay, so have a little think, pause the video if you need to, and have a think, what do these phrases mean in English? Just to see how much you can work out on your own. Okay, so the first one means he, she, or singular they, are really famous or super famous on the internet. Okay, if you haven't seen the E ending before, I'm sure you're familiar with the O ending for masculine, the A ending for feminine. The E ending is for gender neutral, so something that's growing in popularity in Spanish to refer to people who don't identify or who identify as non-binary. So you could say super famose for someone who is a non-binary celebrity. Tiene una canción nueva means they have a new song. So una canción is a song, nuevo or nueva means new. And we should know that the adjective goes after the noun in Spanish. So that's why it literally says he, she, or they have a song new. They have a new song. Es muy popular en TikTok. He, she, or they are very popular on TikTok. Because popular ends in an R, it doesn't need any change for the ending. There's no O, A, or E. It's just popular for whoever you're talking about, which is nice because it's very similar, well, it's exactly the same as popular in English. So it's a cognate. And then finally, tiene millones de seguidores means he, she, or they have millions of followers. Now have a little think, look at these screenshots and have a little think which sentence of the ones we've just looked at could describe which artist or which artists on the right. So pause the video if you need to and have a little think, which ones could you use to talk about Maluma, Shakira, Juanes or Ricky Martin? Okay, so es super famoso or famosa en internet. I think we could probably, it depends what you would define as super famous. Shakira definitely falls into that category. She's got 52.6 million followers. She's known around the world, so she'd definitely fall into that category. Tiene una canción nueva. Well, if you looked carefully, you'll see that in Shakira's bio she says, Girl Like Me with the Black Eyed Peas, the new video. So she's the only one there with the new song. So we could say, Shakira tiene una canción nueva. Shakira has a new song. Es muy popular en TikTok. Well, I guess this one depends on how much you recognize the TikTok screenshots, but Ricky Martin and Maluma are both very popular on TikTok. Maluma more so. And then finally, tiene millones de seguidores. That one would only apply to Shakira and Juanes, two Colombian artists. Ahora vamos a mirar unas frases claves para hablar de las redes sociales. So now we're going to take a look at some key phrases for talking about social media. The first one is tiene muchos seguidores. Okay, so we've seen this one before. Hopefully we can remember it means he, she, or singular they have a lot of followers. So seguidores, followers. The verb to follow is seguir. Okay, so sigo, I follow. So I could say, sí, yo sigo a Shakira. I follow Shakira. And I could say, yo sigo a Shakira en Instagram. I follow Shakira on Instagram. The second phrase, su perfil es muy bonito. Su perfil es muy bonito. Have a little think. We might know what the word bonito means pretty. What could perfil mean? So this one means his, her, or their profile is very pretty. Okay, very aesthetically pleasing. So perfil, profile. So you could say, tengo un perfil en Instagram. I have an Instagram profile or an account. Tengo un perfil en Facebook. The next phrase, su foto tiene muchos me gusta. Su foto tiene muchos me gusta. Have a little think what that one could mean. So it means his, her, or their photo has a lot of likes. So quite often likes are referred to as me gusta. Me gusta means I like it. So it makes sense. That's kind of how the Spanish language has found a way to translate likes. But to be honest, most of the time, at least I think nowadays, most of the time people use the word likes. So you could say, su foto tiene muchos likes. That would be perfectly understandable, especially for younger people. I think likes is just kind of crept into the Spanish language. Su publicación tiene muchos likes. Okay, so I've given you an example using that word. Su publicación, it looks a bit like publication, so that one means post. So his, her, or their post has a lot of likes. And here we've got su perfil, su foto, su publicación. So we've had this word at the start of the last three, su, which means his, her, or their. So it's something that's really nice about Spanish, that you don't have to change the word. If I say that's their phone, or that's his phone, or that's her phone, it's always going to be su. It doesn't change for the gender of the person. And it doesn't actually change for the gender of the word either, so it's always su. The only time it's not is if the word that comes after it is plural. So instead of saying his, her, or their photo, if I said his, her, or their photos in plural, I'd have to say sus, S-U-S. And we'll have a look at that in a moment. Su video tiene muchos comentarios. Su video tiene muchos comentarios. Okay, in Spain they say video. In lots of other countries they say video. So you could say su video tiene muchos comentarios. That's personally what I'd normally say. His, her, or their video has lots of comments. So comentarios, comments. It's really similar to the English, which is quite nice. It's an easy one to learn. And then finally, sigo su cuenta porque me gusta, and then we could say su estilo, su música, sus videos, or sus fotos. Okay, so we've got some examples with sus, the plural that I was talking about. And this one means, if we think that seguidores means followers, seguir means to follow, and sigo means I follow. So it means I follow his, her, or their account because I like, and then I could say su estilo, su música, sus videos, or sus fotos. Now with me gusta, I like, it can get a bit complicated because if you say I like and then one thing, it's me gusta, but if you say two things, or something that's plural, you need to say me gustan with an N on the end. So if you wanted to say I follow their account because I like their videos, you'd need to say sigo su cuenta porque me gustan sus videos, or videos. Quick reminder, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, please do hit that like button below. It really means a lot to me to know that people find these videos useful. And if you don't want to miss out on any of the future videos that I'll be posting, please do hit that subscribe button as well. As promised, we're going to take a look at some really important grammar called comparatives. So to start off with, we're going to answer this question. ¿Qué son los comparativos? What are comparatives? Now, a comparative is a sentence that compares two things. So the clue's in the name, it's not trying to misguide you. A comparative is something that compares, it's quite simple, so we use them to make comparisons. ¿Cómo usamos los comparativos? How do we use comparatives? This is where it's not quite as straightforward, but to be honest, English gives you a really good model for this. To form a comparative, we need to use the words más, que, which means more than, so just like in the English, and menos que, which means, you guessed it, less than. So again, just like the English, it's quite straightforward. Okay, continuing with this question, how do we use comparatives? We can use them to compare a range of different things. We could say something like, tengo más perros que gatos. I have more dogs than cats. We could say el colegio es más grande que mi casa. School, or the school, is bigger than my house. Could say yo estudio menos que mi amigo. I study less than my friend, or less than my friend does, we might say in English. So here we've got a comparison of quantity. I have more dogs than cats. We could say tengo más libros que juegos. I have more books than games. We can compare characteristics. The school is more big than my house. Now that's where in English, when we say something is more something, we can often just add er onto the adjective. So big becomes bigger. I'm trying to think of another example. Fast becomes faster, and so on. In Spanish, you can't do that. You need to always say more fast or more big than. So in some ways it's simpler, because in English sometimes we have to say it's more interesting. You can say it's interestinger. So we've got these different rules in English that make it more complicated. In Spanish it's nice and simple. It's always más adjective que, menos adjective que. And then finally we've got actions. We're using a verb. I study less than my friend. Okay, so comparing actions that different people do. Ahora vamos a practicar. Okay, practiquemos. Let's practice. I want you to translate these phrases into Spanish using más que and menos que. Okay, remember, between the más que and the menos que, you need the adjective. Just like in English, so less famous than something, adjective, so the word for famous, and then than is going to be que. So the first one is Maluma is less famous than Ricky Martin. Okay, even though he's got more followers, if you look closely, he's actually got less likes, and he's not as well known around the world. So have a little think about how you'd say that one. Pause the video if you need to, and then we'll have a look at the answer. We'll do these one by one. Okay, so Maluma is less famous than Ricky Martin. We should have Maluma es, so es, menos famoso, without the U, famoso, que Ricky Martin. The second one, Shakira has more followers, which is seguidores, I'll give you that word, than Juanes. Shakira has more followers than Juanes. So you need more, the word for followers, and then que, and then it follows the same word order as in English, which is quite nice. So again, pause the video if you need to, and then we'll have a look at the answer for that one. Okay, so we should have Shakira tiene más seguidores que Juanes. Okay, nice and simple. Shakira tiene más seguidores que Juanes. Now a bit of an extension, can you spot the comparative in Juanes' Twitter bio? Okay, so it was quite nice actually when I was looking at taking some screenshots of different famous Spanish speakers' bios and their profiles. That actually just so happens that Juanes' most recent album actually has, its name is a comparative statement. So see if you can find it, see if you can work out what it means, because it's very similar to the English, the two words that it talks about. So it's the bit that says más futuro que pasado. So word by word, más, more, futuro, future, que, than, pasado, past. So more future than past. That's the name of his most recent album. Okay, the final bit about how comparatives work, there's one exception. There's only one case, one scenario where you don't say más que or menos que, and that's when you're talking about numbers. If you're saying more than, and then a number more than 10 or more than 10,000, you don't say más que 10, it would be más or menos de, and then the number. That's the only time it's de. The rest of the time it's always going to be que. When you're using it with nouns, adjectives, people, it's always going to be que. So for example, this is a screenshot that I took of the Despacito song on YouTube, and it's got quite a lot of views. It's got more than 7 billion views on YouTube. Views in Spanish, they say visitas, like visits. So you'd have to say Despacito tiene más de 7,000 millones de visitas in YouTube. Despacito has more than 7 billion views on YouTube. So literally in Spanish, it's very common to say, instead of saying billón, there is the word billón, 7 billones. Quite often people say 1,000 millones, so 7,000 million. So that's something to get used to as well. I quite like it personally because it really makes you realise how big the numbers are when they're in the billions. You know, it's literally, if you've got 1 million and then you've got 1,000 of those, you've got 1 billion. So it helps you to get your head around the quantity of 1 billion or 7 billion as well. Now to finish off, I'm just going to give you some tips on how you can get celebrities to help you with your Spanish. You don't need to be really into celebrity culture to do the things that I'm going to suggest. For example, you could find some of them on your favourite music streaming platform. You could look for Spanish music on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music, whatever music streaming service you use. You could just type in Spanish music and you're going to find playlists, and then you can have a listen for a little while, find the artists that you like or the types of music, the genre of music that you like, whether it's reggaeton, bachata, salsa, cha-cha-cha, merengue, cumbia. There's a whole world of Spanish-speaking music out there that's really, really, really good music, and that way you can listen to the songs, you can look at the lyrics, translate the lyrics, and then when you listen back, you'll be able to start to understand some of the words and the meaning, and you'll be able to take phrases from your favourite songs and use them in your speaking and writing. Another thing you could do is to follow Spanish speakers on social media and watch their stories. You could find a couple of people, especially if you've already done the first step, you might listen to some Shakira and think, yeah, Shakira's cool, I'm going to follow her on Instagram, or one of the younger artists, Abraham Mateo. He's probably got TikTok, and you could watch their stories just once a day, just have a quick look what they've posted, watch their videos, especially if they're speaking Spanish, and see how much you can understand. And you can look in the comments as well and see what comments people have written, and it's quite nice on platforms like Facebook and Instagram. You can often hit see translation, and while it's a machine translation, it's a translation done by a computer, so sometimes it will get it wrong. A lot of the time it will help you to get the gist and pick out, oh, okay, so this word means such and such. So you can use these devices, these platforms, to help you learn Spanish and to broaden your vocabulary. And you could also watch films and series in Spanish with English subtitles, or watch films and series in English with Spanish subtitles. And then you've got your favourite actors and actresses. You're seeing them on the screen and you're learning what they're saying in Spanish, or if they're Spanish speakers, you can hear what they're saying and see what it means in English. So these are all different ways you can use popular culture to help you broaden your vocabulary and to improve your Spanish. Before you go, I'm just going to quickly explain how to make the most of using Spanish with James. If you head over to the main channel, you'll find on the landing page that there are lots of different sections. There's a section for beginner Spanish with all of the beginners level videos. There's one for intermediate Spanish, advanced Spanish, and there's one for poetry as well. So it's all nicely organised so that you can find the videos that are right for you at where you're at on your Spanish journey. And again, if you haven't already done so, it'd mean a lot if you just very gently click that subscribe button. And that brings us to the end of the video. Muchísimas gracias por ver este video y espero que te vaya muy bien con el español.